Welcome back, everybody. This is a little segment with the Axe FX3 I like to call Stuff, because Axe Edit got an update with some very cool usability features, and I wanted to do a video featuring that. Other than that, I don't really have any other plans with this one, so sit back, grab your beverage of choice, and buckle in. We're going to look at some stuff. So let's run through some of these usability tweaks that we can do. If we go to Tools, Axe Manage Presets, and we've got an FC controller connected, we can use a very, very handy little feature here called FC Banks. So at the moment, you can see I've just got all my presets. This is what it looks like when you dial it up. But if I hit FC Banks, I've got an FC6 controller connected here, and my bank size for presets is 4. Ta-da! Everything gets arranged into little banks of 4, which makes it a lot easier to organize if you like using multiple presets for a gig and you like to have everything organized. This just lets you do it so easily. It lets you see the way different presets show up as banks. So for example, I'm on this preset right here, Clean and Crunch. I think it's a Vibrolux at the moment. Beautiful sounding app. I like that one. What's the crunch? I've got my FC in front of me. Mark II C++, because of course it is. That sounds ridiculous. That is a beautiful thing going on there. So in terms of preset organization, this FC Banks is amazing. If you've got an FC12 connected, or if you're just using any FC controller and you've got a different bank size, it is automatically going to scale these according to your bank size. So I love that. My other favorite feature is in the controllers section, or in any block that uses some kind of LFO. Have a look at this. When you select an LFO type, you get a little picture of the waveform here. So if you select sine, you get a sine wave. If you select random, I like it, it just kind of gives you this. If you select triangle, guess what? It looks like a triangle waveform. So stuff like this doesn't seem like much, but a lot of the time when you're trying to do something with an LFO and use it to, say, control a particular effect, having a little picture right in front of you kind of goes, oh yeah, that's really handy. For example, something you can do with an LFO. Let's just take a volume block, shall we? And we'll plonk it right here. I'm going to attach LFO number 1 to this thing. And LFO number 1 at the moment is set as a triangle. Let's set it as a square wave, just so it can be on and off. So, and we'll set the tempo to be like an 1/8 note. I should have a slicer style effect now. Very, very handy. And if I look at the square wave, it's like, oh, cool, that's clearly got an on and an off. That's the way it works. If I wanted something to change smoothly and like give me a swell, I could use something like, you know, a sine. That basically just gives you a nice little tremolo style effect there. So really, really cool little feature with that. Anything that features an LFO, for example, in the delay block, when you go to modulation, you can see it's got an LFO, so there is a little picture there. I love those little pictures. Another cool controller that's got a usability update is the sequencer. So the sequencer, I'll show you another really, really cool trick with a sequencer in a second, but if you set the number of stages, they're gonna light up here. So that's just a nice little visual cue. And if you want to sequence things in a particular like grouping, like say 4 or 5, you can turn the grid highlight on and you can see every 4th one, or you know, every 7th one will be highlighted. Really, really nice little touch for Axe Edit right there. I said I was going to do a cool trick with a sequencer. Let's say for whatever reason you forget your expression pedal on the way to a gig. And most of us, when we use like a wah, we probably sweep the same kind of thing. You know, we just have our like set synapse reflex or whatever it is, and that's how we get a wah. So let's do this. Let's create like a kind of custom little wah, I guess, shape with the sequencer, so we're not just tied to a traditional LFO. And let's say by about 8, I want to hit the maximum. And let's say I kind of sweep it up, and then I kind of pull it down a little bit, and then I kind of wiggle it around in the middle a few times. Something really precise like that. Let's say it's like that, and the wiggle, I don't know, is it going to get smaller or is it going to get bigger? Let's make it smaller around this kind of particular point. So I kind of wiggle it in like that, and then I sweep it out a bit more. Something like that. Anyway, there's 20 stages in there. I don't need the grid highlight on. That is cool. And what I'm going to do is, let's get rid of this slicer or trem, whatever that was. Let's attach the sequencer to the wah pedal. So I'll do that. I'm going to turn auto engage off because I don't want it to auto engage. And let's just say now on our FC controller, because we don't have an expression pedal, we want a per preset override. So I almost said overdrive. Let's say per preset number 5, I'm going to set as the wah bypass. So I'll set it as effect. Let's go to wah number 1. And on my FC controller, let's just say on my main effect. Oh, let's not even say that. Let's just say on my scenes where I am right here, instead of going to the rotary, I'm going to override this as number 5. You'll notice another new feature, this little override warning, meaning that, you know, when you go and add a per preset override and you don't forget about it and you stuff up your global settings, that's really nice. This is going to be per preset number 5. There we go. It's a wah. It's on in front of me. So what I can do is I've got this kind of custom, you know, it's going to be the same every time, but a lot of the time when we use a wah, it's kind of the same sweep anyway. So this is a custom wah that I've created with the sequencer. It sounds like I'm using a pedal. That doesn't sound like it's doing what I want it to do at all because I haven't set the sequencer to run. Let's do it now. That's pretty rad. Maybe it's getting a bit spiky there, so I can just kind of tweak it, something like that. So that's pretty rad with the sequencer, a nice little trick. You can really fine tune that and, you know, kind of give this a bit more of a smoother curve or something like that. Use as many stages as you like there with the sequencer. You could obviously do this with any type of expressive effect. It's a lot of fun, the good old sequencer. Let's see what else. I've got notes down here, so I'm going to do this. The cab block, it has always supported, if you click the little hash there, you can use the up and down buttons to audition different cabs, for example, a V30 cab. Or a greenback cab, but it also supports mouse wheeling up and down, if that's a correct phrase. So if you wanted to really just kind of cruise through there, that is really, really fun. That's not something I would personally use because I only use like 3 or 4 cabs all the time, but it is a lot of fun. The other thing with the per preset foot controllers, you can now copy and paste them. So say that wah block there, let's say I wanted to have that in a bunch of different presets, I could copy it and I could paste it to another per preset override, which is pretty rad, I think. I really, really like that. What else? We did FC banks, we did copy and paste overrides, the LFO shapes, we've done the sequencer, we've done the overrides message. I think we've done all the new features. So let's go back to this clean scene with the Vibrolux. There's a few, let's get into just some fun stuff now. A few things I've been playing around with over the week. One is chaining a tremolo and a delay together. There's an effect, I think, in maybe the Strymon timeline that does a similar thing. So what you can do is, and I'm sure someone posted this on the forum and I'm just copied them. So if that person is watching, I owe you a beer at some point. Let's do this. Let's go. We can do it either delay and then trem or then trem and delay. I'll do delay and then trem. We're just going to use the stock tremolo. As you can see, it's got a triangle LFO. That's really, really nice. A nice visual reminder. And one of my favorite delays is stereo BBD. We're going to set the left-right time ratio to 75%. Actually, let's do something different. Let's do 66%. Why not? Because I'm running them in parallel, I'm going to crank the mix to 100%. This is a really, really nice effect combination. That's rad. I like that a lot. You can play around with the LFO shape if you want to do that. I found that like a saw is a pretty cool one for this type of effect. I like that a lot. You can do the opposite effect order. Let's go to maybe like a sine wave trem. Let's hear this one. The other way around. So they sound a little bit different to one another. That one's really, really fun to play around with. Another one is like a tremolo and a reverb, or a tremolo and the plex reverb. The plex reverb sounds so good. Let's do that one. Let's set the effect type to be plex verb. Mix it 100%. This is probably going to be total overkill. I like to bring the low cut and the high cut up and down respectively, and to crank the input diffusion. This one sounds really, really nice for ambient stuff. So plex into trem, that's the way to run it in that case. There's so many cool effect combinations you can use with that one as well. We talked about the sequencer before. A cool thing you can do with the sequencer is to create like a panning delay and put things wherever you want them to go. For example, or you can just use the 10-tap delay block. But let's take this one. Let's just use like maybe a mono BBD. And we've got the echo pan right here. I'm just going to attach the sequencer to it and turn the feedback up. Remember, this was like our custom wah sequencer, so who knows where this stuff is going to go. I don't know. Let's just hope it sounds good, right? I'm just going to shunt these blocks here. Actually, I'm going to delete them. So I'll just get rid of that. And yeah, here we go. Custom panning delay. One really cool thing to use is a little bit of damping over here to kind of smooth everything out. So if you turn that guy up a bit. That's really cool. Having it on the wah as well and having those synced up is actually a pretty cool property of the sequencer there. So that one's great. Another little thing that I've seen people talking about a lot, I'm going to turn that delay off, is like how to use these new speaker impedance curves. And my advice is basically just use the one that sounds best. I'm sure I've said that before, but for example, you can do some cool stuff. Like I'm using this V30 IR at the moment. If I go to the speaker tab here, I've got it set to this 4x12 recto straight. You can see the massive low end impedance. I really like that 2x12 recto one. You can hear there that it just, it changes the overall tone a lot, but sitting here and playing, it changes the feel and the response. This, is one of the bigger new features, I think, where you really, really hear and feel the difference. So I'm a big fan of that, and I like stuff like, all right, what would a 1x8 champ impedance curve sound like with this ridiculous Mark series tone into a 4x12 IR? Oh, that is ridiculous, this 4x12 recto straight. But I have to say, the 1x8 champ feels pretty good. I was really, really impressed with this. There's a bunch of these that I just simply haven't tried. Like, let's just try 1x12 Tweed Alnico Blue. That is not how you play Lost in Germany by King's X. I apologize. So yeah, these impedance curves, literally, you can, like I said in a previous video, you can try to get really authentic with them, but just play around with them until you find one that you really like the feel of and the response. For, I play a lot of high gain stuff, obviously. Do I? And getting that low end palm mute thing happening is really, really important to me. So finding one that I dig for that. Whereas if you were doing a lot of clean stuff, for example, let's try... with this one, I've got to make sure I select the right amp block. I might go for something a little bit different with this one, like go for one of the lower curves. Let's try this. This one's got a big bass boost. I will say this one, I'm not a fan of with this particular amp, but that's all right. We can move on. Let's try a 1x10. That one feels pretty good. What is that 1x10 Princeton Reverb? Oh, that was a little cool custom panning delay we made. Anyway, I'm getting super sidetracked at the moment. I feel like I'm meandering. So we will leave this video here. There is some stuff you can do with the Axe FX3 Firmware 11. Some really, really lovely additions to Axe Edit. Just some good design, which I think is a very overlooked thing. Having tried just about every major modeler on the market, anytime I turn on Axe Edit, it really is a joy to use. It's so well thought out, and I'm pretty grateful for this particular editor because tweaking on the front panel of the Axe FX3 is so much easier than previous generation units. But once you get into Axe Edit, it's all so fast. It's all there in front of you. And there's little pictures of the LFOs now. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Peace out. And if this is the last video you watch before Christmas and everything, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and holiday season, and you stay safe, and you spend lots of time with your loved ones. I'm going to spend some time with this Mark II C++.